Welcome to EngloStories. Today, we have a magical tale that has enchanted children and adults for over 200 years. The Frog Prince was written by the Brothers Grimm and first published in 1812 as part of their collection of German folk tales. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm traveled throughout Germany gathering stories that had been passed down through generations by word of mouth. This particular story teaches us about keeping promises and looking beyond appearances. It tells the tale of a princess who makes a promise to a frog but doesn't want to keep it. What happens when we break our promises, and can something or someone that seems unpleasant at first actually be wonderful? Let's find out as we journey into this classic fairy tale that has been loved by millions around the world. Now let's begin the story. Long ago in a beautiful kingdom, there lived a king who had several daughters. The youngest princess was so lovely that even the sun, which had seen many beautiful things, was amazed whenever it shone on her face. Near the royal castle was a great, dark forest. In this forest, beneath an old linden tree, there was a well. On hot summer days, the youngest princess often went into the forest to sit by this cool well. When she felt bored, she would play with her favorite golden ball, throwing it high into the air and catching it in her small hands. The princess loved her golden ball more than any of her other toys or possessions. Its bright surface gleamed in the sunlight as she tossed it up and down, up and down. She would spend hours playing alone by the well, enjoying the peace and quiet of the forest. One particularly warm afternoon, the princess was playing with her ball beside the well as usual. The birds sang in the trees, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Everything was perfect until something unexpected happened. As she tossed her precious golden ball especially high, it did not fall back into her waiting hands. Instead, it fell to the ground, rolled across the grass, and plopped directly into the well with a splash. The princess ran to the edge of the well and looked down. The water was so deep and dark that she couldn't see the bottom. Her beloved golden ball had disappeared completely. She began to cry, sobbing louder and louder with each passing moment. "What's wrong? Why are you crying, princess?" asked a croaky voice. The princess looked around in surprise but saw no one. Then she looked down at the water and gasped. There, poking its head out of the well, was a fat green frog with bulging eyes. "Oh," she exclaimed, "it's you, frog, who is speaking to me?" "Yes," replied the frog. "Why are you so sad?" The princess explained about her golden ball and how it had fallen into the well. "Don't worry, princess," said the frog. "I can help you. I will dive down and bring back your golden ball. But what will you give me if I return it to you?" "Whatever you want, dear frog," promised the princess eagerly. "My clothes, my jewels, even my golden crown." The frog shook his head. "I don't want your clothes, jewels, or crown. But if you will love me, let me live with you in the castle, eat from your golden plate, and sleep on your bed. Then I will dive down and bring your ball back to you." The princess thought to herself, "What nonsense this silly frog talks. He can only sit in the water with the other frogs and croak. He cannot possibly be a companion to a human." But she did not say this aloud. Instead, she nodded and said, "Yes, yes, whatever you wish. Just get my ball back for me." The frog, satisfied with her promise, dove into the deep water. A few moments later, he surfaced with the golden ball in his mouth. He spat it out onto the grass, and the princess was filled with joy. She quickly snatched up her precious toy. "Wait!" called the frog. "Take me with you. I cannot climb as fast as you run." But the princess paid no attention. With her ball safely in her hands, she ran back to the castle without giving the frog another thought. She had already forgotten her promise to the strange creature from the well. The next day, as the royal family sat down for dinner, they heard a strange noise. Splat, 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 coming up the marble staircase. Then there was a knock at the door, and a voice called out, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." The princess ran to the door to see who was calling. When she opened it and saw the frog, she quickly slammed the door shut and returned to the table, her face pale with fear. The king noticed his daughter's strange behavior and asked what had frightened her. "There is a disgusting frog at the door," she explained. "Yesterday, when my golden ball fell into the well, he brought it back to me. I promised he could be my companion, but I never thought he could leave the water and follow me home." Just then there was another knock, and the frog called again, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me. Don't you remember the promise you made yesterday to me by the cool water of the well? Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." The king looked sternly at his daughter. "A promise must be kept," he said. "Go and let him in." Reluctantly, the princess opened the door. The frog hopped in and followed her back to the table, then said, "Lift me up beside you." The princess hesitated, but her father nodded firmly. With 2 fingers, she lifted the cold, wet frog and placed him on the table. "Now push your golden plate closer," said the frog, "so we can eat together." The princess did as she was told, though tears filled her eyes. The frog ate heartily, but each bite the princess took seemed to stick in her throat. When the meal was finished, the frog announced, "I am tired now. Take me to your room, prepare your silken bed, and we will both sleep there." At this, the princess began to cry. She was terrified of the cold frog touching her. But the king frowned at his daughter and said, "You should not despise someone who helped you when you were in trouble." With great reluctance, the princess picked up the frog with her fingertips and carried him upstairs to her bedroom. She placed him in a corner and prepared for bed, hoping he would stay there. But when she was in bed, the frog hopped over and said, "I am tired and want to sleep as comfortably as you do. Lift me up, or I will tell your father." Angrily, the princess picked up the frog, but instead of placing him gently on the bed, she threw him with all her might against the wall, crying, "Now you will be quiet, you horrible frog." But when the frog hit the wall, a magical thing happened. Instead of falling to the floor as a squashed frog, he transformed into a handsome young man with kind eyes. The princess stared in amazement as he approached her bed. "The spell is broken," he said, smiling. "I am actually a prince. A wicked witch turned me into a frog, and only you could free me. According to the witch's curse, only if a princess allowed me to be her companion and sleep in her bed would I become human again." The princess, who had been so disgusted by the frog, now looked at the handsome prince with new eyes. She felt terrible about how she had treated him and apologized for her behavior. The next morning, a grand carriage pulled by 8 white horses arrived at the castle. The carriage was sent by the prince's faithful servant Henry, who had been so sad when his master was turned into a frog. Henry had placed 3 iron bands around his heart to keep it from breaking with grief. The prince helped the princess into the carriage, and they set off for his kingdom. As they traveled, they heard a strange cracking sound. "What's that noise?" asked the princess, startled. "That," said the prince, "is the sound of the iron bands around faithful Henry's heart breaking. He is so happy that I am human again and have found love." And so the princess and the prince traveled to his kingdom, where they were married and lived happily for many years. This story teaches us several important lessons. First, we learn that we should always keep our promises, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. The princess made a promise to the frog but didn't want to keep it when the time came. Her father had to remind her about the importance of honoring her word. Second, we learn not to judge others by their appearance. The princess saw only an ugly frog and couldn't imagine being his friend. But inside that frog was a kind and handsome prince. This reminds us to look beyond the surface and try to see the good in everyone we meet, even if they don't seem appealing at first. Did you enjoy this magical story? If you did, please like this video and share it with friends who are also learning English. What promise have you made that was difficult to keep? Tell us in the comments below. Follow EngloStories as we upload a story daily so that you can look forward to our next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, a promise made is a promise kept.